Qigong as moving meditation. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. One of the things I find really interesting about Qigong is the way that it can be such an effective tool that we can apply to so many different things within our life. The way that we combine working with our mind, our body, and our breath together, and then with the specific focus on our energy and all the subtlety and nuance that comes in with that, is so powerful. And this is what makes it effective. And we can apply it to so many different things. And as a result of this, often Qigong practice can become quite goal-oriented. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. It's fine, it's healthy to have goals and things we specifically want to achieve, and Qigong can be a great tool for that. For example, we might have an issue with our shoulder, and we might do Qigong practices specifically to help that, or we might have Qigong practices to help with our digestion, or we might go a little bit more general than that, but it's still a bit goal-oriented. We might do Qigong practices to balance our emotions. Yeah, it's a bit more general, but it's still a specific goal or purpose. Or we might do a practice that specifically activates and balances the flow of energy in all of our meridians. Again, it's more general overall, but there's this specific goal-oriented purpose to it. That's very healthy to have that within our Qigong practice. But then at the same time, Qigong can also be really effective for some more general purposes. Purposes like becoming more aware and present to your current experience, having clarity of mind as part of that, finding more peace, more harmony. It can be useful for that sort of thing as well. Now, often that kind of benefit can actually come out of those goal-oriented practices, because within those goal-oriented practices, we're applying principles that naturally lead us towards that. However, sometimes within our Qigong practice, we might become so goal-oriented that we don't fully achieve some of those other purposes of being present and having clarity and so on. So in this vlog, I'm going to give you a couple of tips or ways to think about your Qigong practice. If you're wanting to make your Qigong practice more about achieving that sort of state, some things that you can do within it. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the number of repetitions of different movements and counting versus not counting those repetitions. Counting is a tool that's actually commonly used in different types of meditation. And it can be, really useful as a tool to help bring the mind to focus on something that's relatively simple. Just by counting, it keeps our attention on that. And so in this instance, often when we're wanting to enter into a really meditative state for our Qigong practice, it is useful often to count the repetitions. And often we're going to choose quite a high number of repetitions. Because if we bring our focus to something for just a short space of time, this is going to work to become present once we have a lot of experience, when we're really good at bringing our awareness in. But when we haven't had that amount of experience, haven't developed that skill fully, often it takes time to bring our focus in to that present moment, to be fully aware. And so by setting ourselves a relatively high number of repetitions, we can maintain our focus on that for enough time to really get into that meditative state. There's another side to this as well, though. If we're wanting to go even deeper into that state of awareness, the counting can actually at some point become an obstruction rather than a tool that supports. Because our attention is going so much to the counting that we actually are not paying as much awareness to the other things that are going on within us. And so in that case, it can be really useful to let go of the counting and just focus on doing the practice. Now, again, to begin with, this is often going to mean doing a relatively high number of repetitions of a particular movement to allow us to get into that meditative state, but not counting them, just focusing on the movement itself, and just allowing yourself to do as much as feels good. And it might surprise you. Sometimes when we let go of the counting, the way this allows us to bring our focus more directly to what we're doing, this allows us to enter that meditative state much more quickly. Other times when we let go of the counting, and again put our focus just on what we're doing, it might surprise you how long you can maintain your focus and enjoy doing that one thing when you bring your awareness really to it. So a little something you can do to help yourself with this, because sometimes, again, we're busy in our lives. We've got lots to do. And this is one of the things that's stopping us from being really fully present and mindful. And so it can be hard if we're like, okay, I'm not going to count, and like, well, how am I going to know when to end my practice because I need to do other things? Something that can be really helpful is to set a timer. So rather than using counting as a way to gauge like how much you've done and when it's time to finish, set a timer with an alarm so you can forget about that and just focus on what you're doing and have confidence that you're going to know when you need to stop so you can carry on with the other things that you need to do to support your life. And that can let you put your focus more fully, more deeply onto what you're doing in the present moment within your practice. Another factor that you might like to consider within your practice is the speed that you do different movements at. Now, there's a good reason why a lot of Qigong practices tend to be done slowly. And that is that by doing things, and basically the slower we go, the more this often comes out. When we do things very, very slowly, it allows us to pay attention to more of the fine, subtle details of what's going on within our body, within our mind. We can notice the subtle changes in weight distribution, in tension within the body, the sensation of the nerves becoming active, the blood flowing, and so on, when we slow things right down. So that's a good place to start. Look at seeing how slowly you can do your Qigong practice while bringing your awareness to it. It's not to punish yourself, but just go as slow as you can as a way to see what details can I notice everywhere through my body, through my energy. Now, as part of this, that will mean sometimes making some changes to how you do certain Qigong practices, because some practices are done often with specific breathing patterns that you'll inhale during one phase of the movement, exhale during another phase of the movement, possibly pause the breath during some parts of some practices. If you're going very, very slowly, if you want to slow it right down, well, you might do it slower than you could possibly breathe in time with the movement for. And so you can adjust that. You can go, okay, I'm still going to do the same movement, but I'm just going to breathe naturally as I do it to allow me to slow it down more. Now, again, this is really useful to begin with for people early in their practice or even to intermediate stages of their practice to slow things right down. And you can do this to varying degrees. It can be that you just do it a little bit slower than you normally would to just bring that, a little bit greater awareness, or you can sort right down. And depending where you're at will depend, what works for you. But you can explore that and try different speeds to see what this does to that process of becoming more present. As you progress further in your Qigong practice, again, much like I said in terms of repetitions, once you've developed the skill, you can actually, just in a single repetition, you can bring your state of mind, your awareness right to the present moment. Similarly with the speed, if we've done a lot of practice doing things slowly, we then can actually move very fast and with great awareness. But normally it requires, or it certainly works more easily, I wouldn't go as far as saying requires, it generally works more easily if we spent time going slowly, that then facilitates having that same awareness while going fast. And so as we continue to develop this, we might actually vary the speed that we do our practice at. And we might do some slow, and then again, as part of being aware within the moment, allow ourselves to change the speed and notice the changes that brings within our body, within our mind, within our energy. And you can explore that more freely as you develop a bit more experience. And then the last thing that I'll talk about as a little tip towards this is about our overall mental focus, our attitude that we bring to our practice. If we want to be truly present, truly mindful, truly aware in the moment, it's helpful to let go of our goal orientation. Now, we're probably never going to fully let go of it because we have a purpose of wanting to be present and mindful lately. There's still a purpose there, right? But to largely let go of other goals and bring to your practice just a mindset of curiosity and just wanting to experience what is there. And part of this can be to simplify your practice. When we're very goal-oriented, often, again, we might want to do a certain number of repetitions, we might want to get through a certain number of different movements, things like that. But when we simplify right down, we might end up doing a practice where all we do is one movement. Now, I focus a lot of movements in this practice because we're talking, as a moving type of meditation. This would apply to other parts of Qigong practice as well, like breathing or meditation or something. We might just bring one meditative focus to our meditation, or just use one breathing technique and use it for our whole session. So similar with our Qigong practice, to simplify down. And again, it might just be one movement, or it could be you do more than that. You might do 2 or 3, but that might be quite different from other practices where you do 10 or 15 or 20. You're like, okay, I'm just going to, rather than try to achieve and tick off a list and do a whole lot of things, I just really want to experience the simplicity within one thing. Because when we simplify down like that, what it does is it brings a greater richness of awareness of that one thing. So we're able to, we're not doing so many different things. It allows us to notice more details within the one thing or the few things. And so that then naturally tends to turn our awareness more to all of what's going on within the present moment. And again, that will be particularly within our body, within our mind, within our energy. And that can also then extend out, depending on our focus, to what's going on in the energy around us in our environment as well. So anyway, hopefully those are some helpful tips for you, some ways if you are wanting to really make your Qigong practice a type of moving meditation. Some attitudes or some different things that you can bring to your practice to really make it that way. Now again, having practiced in this way, applying some of these things, maybe letting go of counting, or maybe doing a high count, maybe practicing really slow, maybe reducing down to just one movement or several movements, that skill develops, as I've referred to before, and you can then more easily bring that state of awareness to other Qigong practices, where perhaps you are going faster, counting the repetitions, doing a limited number of repetitions, doing a wide range of movements. You develop the ability to get into that state more easily, and you can bring that meditative state into all of your other practices, and of course from there into your daily life more easily as well. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. I look forward to seeing you on another vlog soon.